Perhaps you've noticed that salad is expensive. Expensive enough that you could spend the same amount on a decent bottle of wine or some quality hair product. It often costs more to buy a salad than to buy a sandwich or hamburger at restaurants, including fast food chains like Subway. A paltry half-frozen McDonald's salad, made of iceberg lettuce and vaguely colored cellulose, costs more than a Big Mac. This feels unfair. But ever wonder about the mystery behind the high cost of salads? These healthy meals, often seen as a light and simple choice, can sometimes come with a hefty price tag that surprises many. The price might make you pause before ordering that fresh bowl, but behind the scenes, there's more going on than just lettuce and dressing. Let's unpack this leafy puzzle together and find out what really pushes salad prices up. To understand how a bowl of vegetables climbed into luxury territory, we have to rewind the story and return to the moment when the modern salad economy was born. In 2007, 3 Georgetown students launched Sweetgreen, a tiny salad shop that dared to claim fast food could be healthy, digital, and premium at the same time. People were genuinely surprised. For the first time, there was a restaurant that treated kale, quinoa, and fresh herbs with the same respect usually reserved for burgers and fries. By the time the company filed for its IPO in 2021, Sweetgreen had become a full-blown phenomenon with 140 stores, a digital-first ordering system, a brand tailor-made for busy office workers, an evaluation that imagined it as a future McDonald's for the health generation. Its first day on the stock market delivered a stunning 76% surge. But the momentum didn't last. Reality arrived in the form of inflation, slow office, district recovery, suburban overexpansion, and soaring food costs. By 2025, Sweetgreen's stock had collapsed to $5.55, an 80% drop from its peak, while the company posted $90 million in annual losses. Same-store sales declined for 2 consecutive quarters. In-store traffic plunged 11.7%, and Sweetgreen laid off 10% of its workforce. The brand that once symbolized the promise of accessible, premium healthy food ended up exposing a deeper truth. Salad is actually one of the hardest and most expensive foods to build a business around. At first glance, salad looks simple, but scientifically and logistically, it's one of the most fragile food products on Earth. Its entire existence is a race against time. Greens die fast, herbs die even faster, and once vegetables are chopped, washed, or exposed to air, they lose structure, moisture, and safety within hours. A salad doesn't have days of shelf life the way cooked foods do. It barely has a day, sometimes less, before it turns soggy, wilted, or outright unsafe to serve. That's why restaurants have to follow a relentless daily routine. Every leaf must be washed, every carrot, cucumber, tomato, and mushroom must be chopped, and every dressing has to be prepared fresh. Ingredients have to be held within a strict 1 to 2 day shelf life and kept at precise temperatures throughout the day. Anything that doesn't get used is thrown out each night, which means the cost of waste is built into the price you pay. One restaurant worker you mentioned described spending 2 to 3 hours every day solely on salad prep, cutting, chopping, washing, portioning herbs and cheese, refreshing the line, and making dressings. None of this can be automated easily. Unlike soup or burgers, salad can't be batched or mass-produced. It's too delicate, too varied, and too dependent on freshness. In the kitchen, labor is everything. That's where the paradox deepens. The simplest food is often the hardest to prepare. A burger is straightforward, drop a patty on the grill, and it's done. A salad, by contrast, can contain 15 to 25 separate components, all hand-prepared, all fresh, all temperature-sensitive, all needing constant monitoring. In many commercial kitchens, 3 or 4 people handle prep, and one of them is often fully occupied by salad alone. And then there are the hidden costs customers never see: the ice used to keep greens crisp, the refrigerated storage for fresh produce, the daily waste that can't be salvaged, the disposable bowls, lids, bags, and dressing cups, and the constant sanitation measures required to keep uncooked food safe. Because salad isn't cooked, all the safety risks shift to contamination, which means even stricter labor, stricter cleaning, and stricter oversight. In the world of food production, Few items demand more careful, labor-intensive, and waste-prone handling than a bowl of salad, no matter how simple it looks. Here is the economic bombshell most people don't know. Vegetables receive virtually no subsidies. In the United States, about 99% of all farm subsidies flow into corn, soy, wheat, cotton, rice, and animal feed. Fresh produce lettuces, greens, avocados, berries, carrots, tomatoes gets almost nothing. Because of that imbalance, these crops cost more to grow, more to harvest, more to transport, more to keep cold, and far more to replace when they inevitably spoil. Meanwhile, commodity crops become cheaper every single year. That's why a 200-calorie burger can still cost around $6, while a 300-calorie salad easily hits $16. And in 2025, everything became even more distorted. Food inflation stayed elevated. Tariffs pushed up the price of imported produce, and younger consumers' core demographic were hit with higher unemployment and shrinking discretionary income. Customers eventually returned to restaurants, but they demanded more value for every dollar. To satisfy them, chains added roughly 25% more chicken and tofu to their bowls, a move that made meals feel heartier, but simultaneously pushed costs even higher. Then there's the overhead trap. Salads simply sell in lower volume than burgers, tacos, pizza, or grain bowls, yet they still have to shoulder the same fixed costs. Rent, insurance, utilities, delivery fees, and the salaries of corporate support staff. A case in point, Sweetgreen's individual stores are actually profitable. It's the company's 260 location structure, which supports a startup scale infrastructure, that's driving margins into negative territory. In economics, there's no way around it. When high fixed costs collide with low output and high waste, menu prices have only one direction to go: up. When you pull all the pieces together, the full picture becomes uncomfortable. But crystal clear salads are expensive because they're the most fragile, labor-heavy, unsubsidized, low-margin, high-overhead item in the restaurant economy, sold to a group of consumers who still believe fresh and healthy is worth paying for. A salad isn't one food, it's 20 ingredients, each with its own logistic headache. And depending on where you live, those ingredients might not just be costly, they might be literally unavailable. Let me talk to you directly here, because some of you watching know this reality better than anyone. If you live in a major city or somewhere with Whole Foods or Trader Joe's nearby, you probably assume, come on, lettuce is cheap. But not everyone lives in a neighborhood with a giant grocery store 5 minutes away. In fact, according to 2024 to 2025 USDA data, almost 39 million Americans live in low-income, low-access census tracts, what researchers call food deserts or even food apartheid zones. In these areas, only 8 to 12% of SNAP dollars ever go toward fresh fruits and vegetables, not because people don't want them, but because they simply aren't being sold close by. When the nearest supermarket is more than a mile away in the city, or more than 10 miles in rural counties, people rely on corner stores, dollar stores, and gas stations instead. Statistically, residents in these neighborhoods are 2 to 3 times more likely to buy their groceries from those places. And here's the part nobody sees unless you've lived it. The same salad ingredients can cost double or triple, depending on the ZIP code. A head of romaine that sells for $1.79 to $2.49 in a nice suburb jumps to $3.99 to $5.99 in a corner store, and it's often wilted. Tomatoes jump from $1.99 to $3.49 per 9 to $7.99 per pound died, sometimes sold individually. A single cucumber that should cost around $1 becomes $2.49 to $3.49. And pre-washed salad mix, the 12-ounce bags you and I take for granted. In many food deserts, they're almost never available at all. I've had viewers tell me they've taken a quick grocery trip that turned into a 1 to 2 hour bus ride, each way just to buy vegetables you and I can grab in 5 minutes. It gets worse. Stores in these neighborhoods can't keep fresh produce because they don't have large refrigerated sections, so everything spoils faster. Some shops lose 30 to 50% of their fresh items to wilting or theft, so they either stop selling vegetables entirely or they charge high markups to survive. Card fees hit them harder too, 3 to 5% on every swipe, so they pass that cost along. And if you don't own a car, Just getting to a real supermarket adds another 10 to 30 in taxes or transit. That's a time tax on being poor that never shows up on a receipt. This creates a vicious cycle. Supermarkets never open or quietly leave low-income neighborhoods. Only corner stores remain. They can't profitably sell fresh food. People fall back on cheap, calorie-dense processed items made from subsidized corn and soy. Obesity and diet-related diseases rise, policymakers say. There's no demand for healthy food there, and the area stays a food desert forever. So here's the reality: in a normal neighborhood, you can make a solid homemade salad for $3 to $6. In a food desert, that same salad suddenly costs $12 to $25. If you can find the ingredients at all. Most people just grab a 3 frozen pizza or a 3 bag of chips instead because it's available, affordable, and doesn't require 3 buses and half a day. Food deserts don't just make salads expensive. In large parts of America, they make salads practically impossible. And that's one of the biggest reasons the communities with the highest food insecurity also have the highest obesity rates at the same time. It's not a contradiction. It's a system problem. Here's the funny thing about salads: even with the eye-watering prices, they've become absolutely essential to modern life. And if you've ever worked in a downtown office, you already know what I mean. At 12:15 p.m., right when the lunch rush hits, half the city's workforce is standing in line for the same thing: a bowl of greens with chicken and avocado. Why? Because for a huge chunk of young professionals, salad isn't just lunch. It's identity. It's a lifestyle. It's the feeling of, okay, I'm doing at least one healthy thing today. Salad is basically the centerpiece of the health-conscious workforce. It's the unofficial uniform of the "I'm trying to get my life together" crowd, especially after the pandemic, when everyone suddenly cared about immunity, gut health, and clean eating. And whether you've noticed it or not, salad has come to define what we now call premium fast casual. Think of Sweetgreen, Kava, Chopped. They aren't selling burgers or burritos. They're selling the fantasy of balance in a paper bowl. It's also a symbol of the post-pandemic urban lunch economy trying to claw its way back. Office districts are still begging for foot traffic, and the first sign of recovery isn't coffee shops or bars reopening. It's when the salad lines return. When the lunchtime crowd starts forming again, cities say, okay, maybe we're alive. And it's not just cultural. Salads literally push the restaurant industry forward. Sweetgreen's Infinite Kitchen, their automated salad-making robot line, didn't come out of nowhere. It happened because salads are such a nightmare to prep by hand that automation became the next logical step. Your 18 bowl is funding robots that might one day prep your lunch faster, cheaper, and with fewer mistakes. Even agriculture is shifting because of the salad economy. Farmers are under pressure to grow fresher, more delicate greens that can survive transport. Supply chains are reinventing themselves to produce faster, colder, cleaner, and with less waste. When millions of people demand fresh food daily, the entire system moves. So when we talk about salads, we're not just talking about lunch. We're talking about infrastructure, the routines, supply chains, and economies that hold up modern urban life. Weirdly enough, your overpriced bowl of lettuce is one of the engines powering how cities work today. Let's talk about tariffs, because if you've been wondering why groceries feel more expensive than ever, this is one of the silent forces pushing prices up. And yes, salads absolutely get caught in the crossfire. Tariffs sound like something that only matters to economists or politicians, but you feel them every time you walk into a grocery store. When the government adds new import taxes on goods coming from other countries, food companies don't absorb those costs. They pass them straight down the line to distributors, then retailers, and eventually to you standing in front of a shelf wondering why cucumbers now cost as much as candy bars. And here's the kicker. Fresh produce is especially vulnerable to tariff shocks. Unlike processed foods or shelf-stable goods, vegetables have razor-thin margins and spoil quickly. There's no wiggle room. When tariffs hit imported vegetables, things like tomatoes, cucumbers, leafy greens, avocados, berries, the price hikes show up instantly. And by 2025, Tariffs have layered onto a global system already stressed by inflation, droughts, supply chain bottlenecks, and labor shortages. If you eat salads regularly, you've probably felt it the most. Salad bowls rely on ingredients that travel long distances: California greens, Mexican tomatoes, Peruvian asparagus, South American avocados. When tariffs rise, every mile of that journey gets more expensive. Think about it like this. A 20% tariff on imported produce doesn't mean a 20% price increase in the store. After distributors, retailers, cold storage, transportation, and restaurant markups, that 20% becomes 35 to 60% by the time it reaches your plate. Restaurants feel the pain too. When Sweetgreen or your local salad bar buys lettuce, cucumbers, or avocados at higher wholesale prices, they don't have an option. They can't shrink the portion size forever. Eventually, they raise menu prices, sometimes by $1, sometimes by $3. That's why your $12 bowl quietly became a $15 bowl, then an $18 bowl. And here's the emotional reality. Tariffs hurt the people with the least access to fresh food. In food deserts, corner stores already charge 100 to 300% more for produce because of limited refrigeration and higher spoilage rates. Add tariffs on top of that. Fresh vegetables stop being food. They become luxury items. People fall back on frozen meals and processed snacks because they're cheap, stable, and untouched by international politics. So no, salads are not an exception. They're actually one of the first casualties of tariff wars. When governments play chess with trade policy, the price of your lettuce moves like a pawn, one small step at a time, until suddenly the whole board looks different and everyone is wondering why eating healthy feels like a privilege. Tariffs weren't designed to make salads expensive, but that's exactly what's happening. Let me tell you something you already know deep down. Salad isn't just a bowl of leaves, and you feel that every time you tap your card and watch $20 disappear. Despite its ridiculous price, it plays a weirdly important role in the way you live now. Think about your own weekday routine. So yes, salad is expensive. It's expensive because it exposes the fragile machinery of modern civilization, our supply chains, our expectations of freshness, our willingness to pay for health, and the invisible labor that keeps food clean, safe, and beautiful. When you look at that $20 bowl, you're not just looking at romaine and cucumbers. You're looking at a story that starts long before it reaches your fork. A salad is the story of workers washing greens at dawn, of refrigerated trucks racing against time on highways you'll never see, of farmers gambling on weather patterns that no longer behave, and of young consumers trying to eat well in an economy that punishes them for caring about their health. It's also the story of businesses trying desperately to stay alive in a world where fresh is the most expensive word in food. Every crisp leaf is a tiny reminder of how much coordination, labor, and luck it takes for modern life to function at all. And here's the uncomfortable truth. If we want the price of salad to fall, we'd have to rethink everything. The way we farm, the way we transport food, the way we pay workers, the way we manage waste, and the way we value healthy eating. That means rebuilding parts of the system we've taken for granted for decades. Until that happens, every $20 bowl isn't a scam, it's the real cost of freshness in the 21st century. I have a sneaking suspicion, too, though, that those of us sometimes who feel guilty enough to buy salads out, rather than assemble them at home, are being taxed for wanting to appear healthy and or eat our way to righteousness. Basically, you can also make your own salad at home if you want to save money. What are your salad hacks? Or are you wise to this boondoggle? And do you stick to assembling your own vegetables at home? Comment below. Which everyday item do you want me to decode next? Why is it so expensive? If you find this video helpful, don't forget to like, subscribe, and leave a comment on what topic you would like me to cover in the next video. See you next time.